vision that Edmund Rice had when he founded the presentation community must have been foremost on the mind of Brother Dominic Brunock, who also served at St. Mary's College. But is there not a legacy that Brother Dominic has left to St. Lucians that St. Lucians could be proud to inherit?
There certainly is. Brother Dominic worked in Trinidad and worked in St. Lucia, and in both places he saw the number of young people roaming the streets who failed to get into school for various reasons, or possibly who succeeded in getting in but dropped out along the line, and he felt that something should be done about it. He saw what the Serval program in Trinidad was doing, and he felt that something similar could and should be done in St. Lucia. And so in 1993, he came from Trinidad, having served a number of years with the Serval program, and started what is now known as CARE in the Martian Community Centre. That's exactly 20 years ago. In the month of April, actually, we celebrated 20 years of existence. CARE is still in existence. I was going to say thriving. I'd like to believe that it is thriving, but it certainly is an organization that is very, very necessary in St. Lucia. There are still too many people, too many young people roaming the streets, nothing to do, and getting into trouble. They get into trouble not through any great fault of their own, but purely and simply they have nothing to do, and they lack that self-confidence, and in many cases they lack the support of their adults around them.
But you, as presentation brothers, you seem to, and perhaps it's part of your charism, to be concerned with the welfare of those persons entrusted to your care, not only to your care but to others. Did not the presentation brothers also start something of a hostel to accommodate boys from outside of Castries who went to St. Mary's College?
That's true. Actually, it was in existence when I arrived here in 1955, and I was luckily involved in its maintenance for a number of years. At the time, there was no other secondary school for boys in St. Lucia except St. Mary's. So anybody outside of Castries who wanted a secondary education would have to come to Castries one way or another to get that, and the only place was St. Mary's. A number of those involved did have relatives, but those who didn't just couldn't come. So there was a building there very near the college, was serving no purpose, and we decided to convert it into a hostel for those living outside of Castries and had no relatives there. Most of them checked in on Sunday evening and returned to their homes on Friday evening. And they paid a big sum of $25 a month for 3 meals a day. And they were supervised study at night. And I must say that most of them who study there have done well.
One of those would have been Father Alfonso.
Yeah, well, actually, he was there as a teacher more than a student. The teachers also availed of the opportunity. Those who came from overseas, when I say overseas, they say Barbados, Trinidad, or Grenada, because we had teachers from all of these countries. And if they didn't have suitable accommodation in town, they stayed in the hostel. And Leonard Alfonso was one of these.
But brother, it's not only in relation to the hostel where you had paying students. People may not be aware of the charitable work that was done by the Presentation Brothers, but did you all not take in some persons to live at the Presentation Brothers, fed for them and provided them with their needs on a regular basis?
Yes, that is true, but I have to admit it wasn't on a paying basis.
Yes.
We had vacant rooms, and there was no point in having a room vacant when somebody could occupy it profitably. So whenever a case did arise and we saw that a person needed help, well, the room was offered them.
But you all did not always live at VG. If my memory serves me right, at one stage, some of the Presentation Brothers lived at Entrepot. What was the reason for this split or move to Entrepot?
Well, two reasons possibly. There was more manpower then than now, but principally it was to form what was then known as intentional communities. That is, a community where young people who may be interested in the Brotherhood could spend periods of time, weekends, months perhaps, or even year, helping them to make up their mind one way or another. We did have a number doing that, one of them being Brother Barry. He was one of those who entered the community in Entrepot before he began his studies with the brothers. We had a number of others who came and went, but that was more or less the intention of forming that community. And of course, we lived more closely to the people in the sense that we were more in touch with the local community, we say, than we had been in the VG area.
But would that be one of the reasons why the Association of Presentation Brothers was formed?
Well, yes. Actually, that was decided at a general chapter back in the 60s, that most congregations have associates. Some congregations call them third order members. And I remember, in fact, I attended the chapter in which it was decided. And one of the ideas put forward was that the day may come when the brother would have to leave a certain area, but the associates will stay. The person who said that was thinking way ahead, I think, because that is really what is happening now. Most communities where we have been have groups of associate members. We have quite an active group here in St. Lucia, and we hope that even though there'll be no presentation brother as such, that the associate members will still continue, and I have no doubt they will.
Brother, what you're saying is all pleasant and shows a sense of commitment, a sense of love, a sense of pride, of reaching out and sharing. But you must have had some unpleasant experiences. Did people ever want to attack you? Were you, in your case, Brother Mike, were you not at one stage the subject of a brutal attack which almost took your life? Do you remember that particular incident, brother?
I remember the beginning of it. This fella came in looking for a dog, and he had what I later realised was an iron bar in his hand, and he was searching through the plants to see could he find a dog. I communicated that if there was a dog around, he'd be playing with our own dog, who would like to play, and so I expected him to go away, and I walked over towards the stairs and found that he was still there, and I turned around and spoke to him again. I said if you had a pup, he'd be playing with our dog. And I turned him up the stairs, and this part I don't remember myself. He hit me in the head with the iron bar, and next thing I remember is with Mrs. DeVore going down to to the hospital. I woke up in the car for a few.
That's Fred Defoe.
Yes. And
But there's a lot of blood I gathered.
well, you have to ask people. I was the only one not traumatized by the thing because I became
Oh, yes.
concussed. And I know that I answered the phone, went to my room, and there Father St. Rose found me. He saw the blood along the corridor. And he called aid, and the Rose were in that morning early for Mass, and they took me to hospital in Tapion, where I was stitched up, given 17 stitches, and was in hospital for 2 days.
This is rather unfortunate and unpleasant, and this is certainly not an act of thanks, and certain that St. Lucians would not appreciate or support what was done to you. Did you have any souvenirs as a result of that attack?
Souvenirs?
Yes.
We lost a few things just...
No, I know a few things were lost, like the television, and a few things were stolen. You said that you were hit with an iron bar. Do you know what finally happened with that iron bar?
I think it's still with the police,
It's still with the police.
but nothing happened
Oh,
outside
okay.
that. We're not sure what happened to the fellow. Some people think he did something down in Super about a week later, and he was shot by the police. We don't know if it's the same person.
But the iron bar was left at the college for a few days before it was finally picked up by the police.
Well, they came immediately. I don't know
Okay.
if it was picked up immediately or not. But
Alright.
I presume it was. And then after 6 weeks, I got a recurrence. A bleeding on my brain caused by the blow. So I had to go back into Tapion again and had a scan. And the scan told the doctor that I needed an operation, so they drilled a hole in my head to take out the blood.
My God.
6 weeks after. So I have a quick recovery. I was recovering in 2 days after that, and I was out of hospital after 3 days, even though the doctor was surprised
Yes.
how quickly I recovered, even from the stitching and from the wound in the head.
As true Christians, we are taught to turn the other cheek, to forgive and not remember. But if you were to see this young man at the moment, would you bear any hatred, any animosity towards him?
Well, I think at the time he was looking for something, and he saw me as an obstacle, and that's why he attacked me.
And,
all I can say.
and you believe that, and you
Yes.
don't hold it against him.
No,
This is
because there's a lot of people who suffer violence. Other people had a worse fate than I had, and as I said already, I didn't feel anything at the time, since I was concussed. And so it's the other people who saw me were shocked. So it didn't affect me
yes.
in the same way as it affected them.
I have kept this question till the very last, brother, to show something of the character of the Presentation Brothers. Early in the questioning, when I spoke with Brother de Lellis, it was to indicate that they came here on a mission. The question that I have asked of you is to show that that mission was not done without suffering. But even in the midst of suffering, there's no animosity, no malice, showing what the character of the Presentation community and the Presentation charism is. When I spoke of care earlier on, I was asking about Brother Dominic, but you were one of the functionaries who were in at care on a day-to-day basis. What is the experience you've had with care, and how did you see care developing and progressing?
I came into care in January 2006 in this building, and I found it a bit straining in the sense that I was afraid of the floor because it was eaten by
Termites.
termites, and I was afraid that some of our trainees might go too near the balcony, and that was a bit stressful in the first year that I was there, and to keep him away from that part. But I must say, I found the work most enjoyable, especially my last year, has been the most enjoyable. The change that I saw in the trainees in the ADP program, from the beginning of the year to the end, I can only call it as phenomenal.
Okay.
It's beyond anything that I had expected, and because when they came in, they were a bit, what do you call, crude, a bit
Yes.
undisciplined. But as they went through the program, the transformation was really outstanding and beyond what I had expected and could expect. So that impressed me. So I enjoyed my work in care, even though it was limited, over the past 8 years. And it's with a sad heart that I leave it. And I hope that they will have every success in the future.
But here again, brother, we are dealing with underprivileged youngsters. How did these individuals manage to pay for tuition? Or were the fees astronomical, or were they subsidized? Or tell us something about the fee structure, if there was ever a fee structure at CARE.
And Brother Lillis will be the most person indicated to answer that question. I know there was fees, but some of them could not pay them, and we had very charitable people who paid for them.
Okay.
And I know some people owe money yet, or yeah, they could not pay, as they were. Most of them would be in unstable families, or they might have a big income, so they found it very difficult to make ends meet and pay their fees. Others, not so much, and others, because they couldn't pay, I think they may have left the institution. They found it too difficult, the parents, to pay the amount, which wasn't that much, but they found it very difficult.
But the nature of education provided was not academic.
Well, I was teaching maths and English, so
Yes.
that part would be academic,
Yes.
and all I can say is I was surprised at the advance they made, the pupils I had, in both maths and English,
English.
in the year. Some of them weren't able to read, and somebody brought out some primary books from Ireland, and I used those, and it was just amazing. They would be hesitating, and they couldn't read at the beginning, and at the end of the year, they were able to read them fairly well.
But you also
And-
taught technical subjects.
Yes, there was in each, now I'm at ALSA, not in Castries. They teach carpentry, which is woodwork, electronics, which includes reparation of fridges and AC, and mechanics. There's also cosmetics, hair doing,
Okay, for the young ladies,
Yes.
yes.
and some people also do a little bit of computer work, but that's mostly in ancillary.
Well, we knew somebody who was quite competent at mathematics, and perhaps this is why he looked after the finances of St. Mary's College and also in relation to CARE. Brother, how did you manage to deal with a situation where people are unable to pay for their education, even in the case of CARE?
Well, the policy really in the CARE family is that nobody should be deprived of an education because of lack of funds. We do tell parents that they are expected to pay a certain annual fee. Some of them succeed, but there have been cases where they just could not even pay part of it. In these cases, we look for sponsors. And I must say, St. Lucians have been very, very generous. We notify companies and individuals, and they have been very generous, in fact, in sponsoring individual trainees for the course of the year. Some of them as well go to the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry has been helpful in that case as well. That doesn't mean, of course, that there are some defaulters at the end of the year. You will get that in any outfit or in any company. But all in all, I think we have succeeded in giving everybody who is interested the education that is available to them. If they can pay for it, well and good. If they can't, we look for others to do it, or even to do a part of it. But I think personally it would be a terrible disaster to deprive anybody of an education because of lack of money. So that is the policy of CARE as well.
I know that none of you with the Presentation Brothers ever looked for reward or awards or anything of this sort for the work that you did. You did it out of love and out of the generosity of your heart. But were you not recently awarded some medal, partially in recognition for the work that you did, brother?
Yes, it's true that in the Queen's Birthday Honours List, my name did appear, granting me the MBE for the year. The investiture hasn't taken place yet, and the citation did say that it is for work in education over the years in St. Lucia. But I was happy to accept it, not for myself personally, because I believe that there were other brothers who came before me that deserved it much more than I did, and for that reason I accepted it for them as well, and not for Brother Delelis alone.
Was the work in St. Lucia satisfying? Was it fulfilling? What memories would either of you have in relation to this work that you have done in St. Lucia? Both of you.
Well, I have nothing but very happy memories. My years in St. Mary's, I spent 2 periods in St. Mary's between mid-50s to the mid-60s, and then I came back 29 years later in 1993 in my retiring years, and I spent another number of years in St. Mary's. All my memories are happy ones.
Even your memories of dealing with a scum and vagabond like myself?
Well, there was worse than you, put it that way. And these are better forgotten more than trying to remember. But all in all, I think my experience in St. Mary's have been very happy years. And it's only now really when I meet people and they tell me about it, they remember things that I don't remember, luckily for me, I suppose. I did spend a number of years with CARE. When I retired from St. Mary's in '97, I spent all years since then involved in CARE in one form or another. But I think the work of CARE really is outstanding in the sense that it's catering for a group of people that are badly needing help, and they feel rejected, and if they're not helped by the adult population, the situation is going to get worse. They're certainly not what we would call bad individuals, because when CARE started, it had what I might call a bad reputation, that was for people who got into trouble. It really isn't. It was for people that were keeping out of trouble. And if CARE didn't come on the scene, I think a lot of them would have got into trouble. And not through any fault of theirs, but through the fault of the adult population. And for that reason, I feel very happy to be a part of that program. And I have no doubt that it will continue, and that the St. Lucians generally are going to support it.
Brother Mike.
Yes, I worked for, as I said already, 33 years in Peru with the poor, and come to St. Lucia, and I was asked would I like to go someplace else. I said no, I want to go someplace where I took choice of going to St. Lucia or to the US, and I chose St. Lucia. To be working with the downtrodden, or the less able, or the less who had a problem in getting into secondary. And I enjoyed the work, and I think it's one of the most successful groups that I know, CARE, working with these people and what they have achieved. And I think many people who our trainees work for find the same. They have a discipline which people coming from university education do not have. And they would prepare their workers to be from CARE, if they could get them, rather than from the others, because some of them went in and they found they hadn't the discipline and they had to leave. And those who went from CARE continue to work in those institutions, and they can help and do what the owner or the person in charge wants them to do. So they have that kind of respect. I think that's one thing they learn in CARE, to have respect for themselves and respect for the authority, which is important.
The motto of the presentation, brothers, is Ad Maglorum Dei Gloriam. Brothers, what does that mean?
Well, if you want to translate it to our language, which we call English, it means to the greater glory of God.
Is that what you all did?
We would like to believe yes, and we would also hope that we'll continue to do it in some years to come.
It has been wonderful speaking to both of you, and I want to thank you, Brother Delelis. I want to thank you, brother, and to indicate it is with a sad heart that I'm participating in this interview here this morning. I will certainly miss both of you and miss the presentation community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.